Hello, we are live again. Hello, thank you for joining me. We're talking about legacy today. This is something that's been on my mind and in my heart given Queen Elizabeth's passing. There's been a lot of talk of, who she was, what she was like, and you can't help but think about your own legacy. And I thought, let's go on the YouTube machine and talk about it. So we're going to talk about your legacy, some questions you can start to ask yourself to really start to think about what you want to leave behind and what your legacy is going to be and what you want to be remembered for. We're going to talk about some other things too. For example, we're going to talk about the Queen archetype. We're also going to talk about grace, elegance, and femininity. So stick around if that sounds like your kind of thing. But I'll do a quick intro if you haven't met me before. I'm Cheryl Muir. I'm a coach, counselor, relationship expert. I've been coaching women and men for 8 years on helping them to fall in love and stay in love. And this is Love and Fandom, where we believe the relationships we see on the screen help us to understand ourselves at a deeper level and have a better relationship with ourselves and each other. And we often analyze film and television characters and scenes on this channel. Before I get any further in, if you do like the way that I explain things and you do want to master skills in relationships like communication, boundaries, understanding how to regulate and process your emotions, how to feel better instead of numbing out, how to understand why it is you've been dating the same types of people over and over again, healing the mother wound, healing the father wound, feeling safe to be seen and feeling safe to be your wonderful, amazing, wacky, weird self. Weird is not a bad thing. It's an excellent thing. We need more weird people. Hello, fellow weird person right here. If you want to master those skills, I have courses and they are open for enrollment. The details are down below in the description. So let's get cracking. When it comes to legacy, what is legacy? Legacy is what we leave behind when we're not here anymore. Pretty heavy, I know. Say you're a Scorpio without saying you're a Scorpio. So let's get straight into the questions first. What do you want to be remembered for? What do you want to leave behind? Is it a family that you've created? Is it a body of work? Is it how you make people feel? What characteristics will people remember you by? How did you make people feel? What will people's lasting impression of you be? I'd love for you to journal on that from the perspective of what you'd like it to be, right? Not what it is now, but what would you like it to be? What would be the ideal situation? And then you can look at where you are now and see where the gap is, right? And we can close that gap with our daily habits. The opposite side of legacy, right? What we leave behind, what we've created, whether that's a body of work, whether it's the books that you're writing, whether it's the cosplay account that you're creating, or whether you're doing something in film and television or something creative, or whether you write fan fiction, like that's still art. I don't know why we think that it isn't. Whatever it is that you're creating, whatever it is you want to leave behind, whatever it is you're making, the flip side of legacy is, and by the way, fan fiction writers, you need to write books, just that's something that can last, that's physical, right? The opposite side of legacy is our daily habits. There are athletes and musicians, but mainly athletes because they have that repeated discipline, that devotion to what they do. There are athletes, and Cristiano Ronaldo is in my head. He talks about this and he says, there's days when I'm at home and I'm with the kids and I don't want to go to the gym and I'm like, oh, no, I need to train, but I don't want to. But I go because I know it's going to give me that edge. Because if I don't go, then the next day I might be like, oh, I don't really feel like it either. And then it's 2 days that you've missed and you've missed more of an edge. So what is making him do that? It's not the gym. It's not training. He's thinking of his performance, which is connected to his legacy. Why is this important for us? And what does it mean for us, mere mortals, normal humans that are not Cristiano Ronaldo or the Queen? Because I realise they're quite big, extreme examples, archetypes, if you like. The athlete, the Queen, they're both archetypes. What does it mean for us? It means that the times when we don't feel like doing the thing, we make ourselves the thing. And the reason that's important is because it builds self-trust. So often we're focused on what other people might not have done, how other people might have let us down, false promises, right? We've all had those people that have promised to do something and not done it. Might be a big thing, might be a small thing. But the promises that we make to ourselves are the most important. The ones that nobody will know if we break them, they're even more important because we know. We know that we were going to go up to the gym and we didn't. We know that we said, oh, I'm going to do that thing later tonight and we didn't. When we break the promises we make to ourselves, we stop trusting ourselves. Just like if someone in your life, friend, partner, family member, promises to meet up with you and then they cancel at the last minute, you're going to stop trusting them. Or at least you're not going to trust that they're going to show up next time because there's this pattern of them breaking that promise. They say something, they do something else. So we have to be, this is one of the 4 agreements. I don't know if you've read the book, The 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. It's an amazing book. One of the 4 agreements is be impeccable with your word. If you say you're going to do something, you do the thing. Obviously things come up and if there's an emergency and we need to communicate that, that's another thing. But we have to be impeccable with our word to ourselves. Otherwise we stop trusting ourselves. I'm sure there were times in Queen Elizabeth's life when she had those papers. I don't know if you saw that on the BBC documentary last night. She had this red briefcase delivered to her office, her royal office. And she said, fortunately, I'm a fast reader, but there are days when, you know, I kind of resent it a little bit because I'm there and for a long time signing off on all these papers from the military and the government. I didn't know she signed off on all this shit, by the way. This was a revelation. You know, people say the Queen doesn't do anything or the monarchy is not important. Well, they're signing off on all the decisions, all of it. Military, government, laws, everything has to go by the Queen. It's like, it's an incredible position to be in. Such a responsibility, and we're going to get to that in the Queen archetype in a second. But she said, you know, there were times that she resented it because she would rather be outside, and she's a Taurus. I'm a Taurus, so I get it. She liked being outside with her dogs, and she liked being at Balmoral and being in the gardens and all those things. But she had this duty and she had this responsibility. This is the thing I'm here to do. This is my legacy. So I'm going to do the thing I have to do. So what does that mean for you? That's another question to ask yourself. How does this apply to you in your life? If it's writing the book, then that's setting that time, that discipline, that habit to write every day. If it's building a business, if it's something creative, whatever it is for you, work backwards. What's the daily habit? I don't believe in goal setting like I used to, because I think the way that my brain works, I've seen myself set massive goals and then felt like some of those goals were out of my reach and set goals that were too big. What I find more effective is looking at it on a day-to-day basis and making it a daily habit. And the next thing, 3 months passes, you know, the time's going to pass anyway, 3 months passes, you met the goal because you did the thing every day. Does that make sense? So, legacy. What do you want to be remembered for, and what is it you need to do every day to get there? Not easy. Simple, but not easy. The Queen archetype. I'm going to read you a passage of information from Caroline Mace, and she is the grandmother of the archetypes. It's Carl Jung, really, isn't it? The archetypes, but she's kind of the grandmother of personal development when it comes to archetypes. She has books on it and so on and so forth. And the Queen is an archetype, and the way that she explains it is that people will say, you know, I'm a queen, but actually what they mean is they're a bully, right? They like shouting at people and telling them what to do and being dramatic and all of that. It's not what a queen is. A queen is devoted and a queen is benevolent. A queen has a responsibility to her people, to her, you know, subjects, if you like. So what is that for you? Who do you have a responsibility to, a duty to, a devotion to? Before I read out the Queen archetype by Caroline Mace, I'm going to see if I can find Queen's Promise. I found this earlier. The Queen's Coronation Oath from 1953. That's not it. Of course I can't find it while I'm on live. I'm going to try one more thing, and if I don't find it, then I don't find it. This is going to take me like 20 seconds. Got it. All right. So Queen Elizabeth's promise was this, and I'm sure you've heard this in the news. I declare before you all that my whole life, whether it be long or short, shall be devoted to your service and the service of our great imperial family to which we all belong. So what does that mean for you? Who are you devoted to? What's your duty? Who are you dutiful to? This isn't from like a codependent perspective either, of like, oh, I'm going to be dutiful to my family even though they were really abusive and narcissistic and put me down all the time. That's not what we're talking about. It's a sense of duty to the mission, to the calling, to creating your art, to building your business, to helping the people you know you're here to help, to making the things that your heart longs to make. That's what you're dutiful towards, right? So let's read about the Queen archetype. This is words by Caroline Mace. The Queen archetype can help you assert your power, take charge of situations, delegate authority, and act with benevolence. But the Shadow Queen may run around barking out orders, making impossible demands and cutting off heads. That's the Queen of Swords energy, right, from Tarot. Once you learn to recognize the difference between the two responses and their common source, the triggers, you can harness the Queen's constructive power while mitigating her shadow wrath. So that's a lot of words, but basically what that means is that, well, you take your own meaning from it. What does that mean for you? What it means to me is that the Queen is dutiful. The Queen has a responsibility to her people, and she's benevolent and generous. You wouldn't cross the Queen, right? When you have this archetype, you wouldn't cross her, but she's not someone that's going to be wrathful for the sake of being wrathful. An archetype is a set of patterns. I have a course called the Sexual Signature Archetypes, which goes through different archetypes I've created for sexuality. One's the Kinky Queen, again with the Queen name, Kinky Queen, Passionate Princess, Sensual Siren, and Energetic Empress. I don't know why there's lots of regal terminology in there, but there we go. And each archetype represents a set of patterns. I also have the dating drama archetypes, and the flip side of that is the love archetypes. So the dating drama archetypes were, I've got a video on it somewhere, they were Miss Clingy, Miss Fantasy Relationship, Miss Obsessed, Miss Drama, Miss Selfie, and Miss Lone Wolf, right? An archetype is a pattern of behavior, and we personify it, we make it into a person or a character or a thing so that we can understand it. We see archetypes within film and television, within characters, within tropes, you know, the great king who's also a shitty father reminds me of Odin. We had a series on Thor and Odin, right? What other tropes are there? I mean, there's so many, I could go into so many, but there's a lot of archetypes in film and television around royalty, right? We talked about the royal family of Asgard in one of the series we did about Thor recently. I'll link that up above. So start to look at these archetypes and these patterns in your life, and you can get the book on archetypes by Caroline Mace. It's really very interesting. Found the audiobook a little bit shouty, honestly, and a bit ranty. It was a little intense at times, but there's some really, really poignant information in there. So final point, grace and elegance and femininity. So we are living in a time where, I'm just going to say the thing, women's relationship to their femininity is really messed up. And women are being conditioned to be really, really angry at men. And typically, the women that, I don't know any of these women in real life, my friends are not like this, but the people who talk to me on social media that are incensed by some of the things I have the audacity to say, is that their anger is justified. And it might be, but typically what I see is that that anger they have towards all men is actually the anger they have towards one man or a handful of men who did something really terrible when they were younger. So it's really our responsibility to deal with the anger we have towards that particular man in our life who might have hurt us. And then once we're healed, we're not projecting that pain onto everyone else. We've all heard the phrase, if you don't heal from what hurt you, you'll bleed on people that didn't cut you, right? And then once we do that, we can soften into our femininity. It takes a lot of courage to do that. And to the women who, you know, want to remain angry and don't want to step into their femininity, that's fine, but they will attract men that are not the type of men that they want. You know, one of the patterns that we often see, and I was creating some content in Siren yesterday about this, One of the patterns we often see in romance writing, romance novels, and fan fiction, frankly, of which I am very familiar. One of the patterns that we see is this kind of fluffy smut, right? This lovemaking that's very tender. And the common pattern there, what I see in a lot of my clients, is they want to be claimed. They desire to be claimed. They want to be claimed, not just by anyone. They want to be desired, but not just by anyone, by someone that they desire. They want to be claimed by him. I'm going to do a video on Bridgerton season 2. Everyone was mad for that guy, Anthony Bridgerton. There's a reason why that is. It's because he claimed her, right? He desired her fiercely and he claimed her. The vast majority of women want that. The vast majority of women desire that. And the ones that don't, they're either lying to themselves or they're trying to protect themselves with this anger, this misdirected anger. It was Gillian Pothier that called it weaponized feminine rage. It's not the vibe. It's not the vibe. I get it. But it's not the vibe. It's not the way. So that was a tangent, but it felt like an important one. My point with that theme, that section, grace, elegance, and femininity, is that we see a lot of this in the royal family, right? We saw this with Elizabeth when she was younger, when she was in her 20s and 30s. She was incredibly graceful and elegant. We see that with Kate as well, and a lot of the other female royals. Meghan has an elegance too, though she's not from that background, but I think she did the best she could in the family. I don't necessarily think she's doing the best thing now, but it's a different story for another time. We see this elegance. There's a really incredible teacher on YouTube, and I forget her name, but she's Scandinavian, and she is really wonderful. And she talks about elegance, and she says there's a lot of beautiful women in the world, but there's not many elegant women anymore. It's like a dying thing. But that grace and that elegance, the way you carry yourself, having that poise, is something that I certainly aspire to have and to embody more. And if it is something that you aspire to have and embody more as well, then certainly with the femininity side, there is a lot of work we need to do to soften. I'm going to link some videos above where I talk about femininity and what it is and what it isn't, because I think a lot of it sounds very airy-fairy, but it's not. It's palpable. You see those women that are very graceful and have that kind of that goddess kind of vibe, or that elegance, that queen-like elegance, and that regal presence. It's palpable. You can feel it. So it's not airy-fairy. It's not woo-woo. It's very tangible and palpable. Another thing, theme 4, that we will touch on is the Queen's relationship to her husband. She was a woman, still feels strange saying was, she was a woman that was really powerful. And she came to the throne in the 50s at a time when women didn't have powerful positions. It has been said that the reason she was able to carry out her duties in the way that she did, the reason she was able to do that and still be the woman she is because she had the faithful and loyal presence of her husband. Now, don't get that twisted. I'm not taking anything away from what she did. She's an absolutely incredible, miraculous woman. But she had that loyalty and that beautiful relationship with her husband. Regardless of what I may or may not think about Prince Philip, is really beside the point. He's passed now, and he was a really solid presence for the country too. But they had a solid relationship. And so looping back to legacy, when you start to think about the kind of relationship you want to have, you start to think about time moving on, not having that relationship. It's important that we're able to look to years down the line, or even if you want to go that far, look to the end of your life, your human experience. Do you want to look back and say, I wish I found my partner later. I wish I didn't meet them as soon, Probably not. Probably not. I was coaching a woman, was it a week ago or 2 weeks ago? I forget when we had our session now, but she's on the younger side compared to most of my clients. Most of my clients are in their 30s, and they realize, shit, I'm in my 30s, I need to get my relationship stuff sorted out. But she said to me, she's just about to start university. She's in her early 20s. I don't know exactly, but 20, 21 probably. And she said, God, I just saw how this was going and I thought, this can't be my life. I can't be here in 10 years' time. So she's done the reverse of what we're talking about, right? She's gone forward, gone back and said, because I don't want to be there in 10 years, I need to change this now. I don't want that to be my legacy. So something to think about. I've gone on various different tangents there, but is there anything I want to say about the Queen and Prince Philip? I think only to start thinking about the relationship that you want to have, that you want to be permanent in your life. And to create that and know that you can have that. I have lots of free content here on that. I have courses on it as well. It really is a matter, creating the relationship that you want is a matter of a couple things. It's looking at what your current patterns might be. My clients that come to me that have struggled in love, generally it's not like a one-off thing, like they had one bad relationship and everything else is fine. Generally it's been a pattern throughout their life, right? So we look at those patterns and look at what's been repeatedly happening. So maybe you've been choosing people who didn't see your worth, or they didn't stick around, or there was some kind of emotional unavailability. We see what the pattern was, we identify it, we try and find out the source of it, where it came from. We're not doing that from an arbitrary sense, just for the hell of it. Where did it come from, so that we can heal it? If it might be, oh, well, actually, my dad left when I was young, but, you know, I've done loads of therapy on it and I feel like I've moved through it. But would you be open to feeling it? How did it feel when he left? It felt really sad. Can you feel that now? You know, usually the tears come and so on and so forth, because talking about it in therapy is great. I'm certainly not against therapy at all. It's a great first step, but it's not the final step. We need to feel it as well. And sometimes in talk-based therapy, talking about it is actually a really, really advanced way of avoiding the feelings of it. We've got to feel the feelings and let them go. So we identify the pattern, we look at where it came from, we heal the source of that, so which is feeling, the feelings that went along with that, and then we also look at the beliefs that gave us. So it's feelings and beliefs. Feel the feelings of the past. What did it make you believe about yourself, about love, about relationships? How can we change those beliefs? I have loads of content on that if you want to dig into it. Let's have a little search around, a little poke around the channel and see what you find. I've been on various different tangents and I have not seen your lovely, your lovely comments. Oh, did you donate to my channel, beautiful soul? If you did, that's so kind and incredible and amazing and such a miracle. Thank you so much. I don't know how to pronounce your name. Would you let me know what your name is so I can give you a shout out? I'd love if you would let me know what your name is. Thank you. You have said, first to see your live streaming. I'm already so excited to see your spirituality works about the Christmas this year. I'm not sure I understand your question. Let me know if you do have a question. I'm happy to answer it. Wish I have a spiritual teacher like you. You're so sweet. Thank you. I wouldn't say I'm necessarily a spiritual teacher per se. I'd say I'm a kind of coach counselor with more of a spiritual slant. But you know, you are your own guru. You know, you are your own guru. And let me know what your name is if you're comfortable. Your first name, so I can give you a shout out on live if you're comfortable. If you're not, that's completely okay. Thank you for your kindness. I'm really, really grateful. Thank you so much. Let's recap. So we were talking about our legacy and what kind of legacy we want to create. We talked about the Queen archetype and how she is benevolent and has a commitment and a devotion to her people, to her subjects, if you want to say that. I know it sounds a little strange and feels a little weird to say out loud, but she has a devotion to her people, whether that's your social media audience, whether you feel it's your found family, right? Your friends, whether you're devoted to your art, whatever it is you're creating, your spiritual path, your path of growth, your soul, whatever it is for you. We also talked about grace and elegance and femininity, how the lost art of grace, elegance and femininity, and how there's unfortunately, and I'm not making this political, I do not lean one way or the other politically, politically homeless, actually, sadly. You know, we talked about how there are a lot of women who are not dropping into their femininity, who are afraid of it because they have a lot of anger towards the opposite sex, towards men. And I also recognize it's a very difficult time to be a man, to know what you can say and what you can do. And it's a scary time to be a man. I don't teach on masculinity, but there's some wonderful teachers out there who do. The one that I know, I did some PR for him actually years ago. He's called Destin Gerrick. Destin like destiny, but without the Y, and Gerrick is Gerrick. Rick. If you Google him, you'll find him. There's some teachers of masculinity who are not that great, but Destin is the real deal. He's really, really fantastic. So if you are a man watching my channel, I love you. Thank you for being here. You're so welcome to stay. And if you want someone that teaches on masculinity, he is your man. He is your awakened man. He has a book called The Awakened Man. I don't know why I'm plugging everyone else's stuff, but I feel happy to if they've done some really great work. So happy to do that. And we also talked about Queen Elizabeth and her relationship with her husband and how it helped her to have some work-life balance, if you can call it that, and have that stability. It was also Beyonce who said that I'm the woman I am because I go home to that man, right? There are people who will see this and be very annoyed that I'm talking about devotion to our partner, and that's okay. They're probably not in relationships and they're probably not very happy about that, and they probably have a lot of anger, and it's okay. I've been there. I'll maybe tell you my story sometime, but if you want a relationship, you have to work through the emotions that are holding you back. And if you're on the one hand saying, I'm not going to devote myself to a partner, and on the other hand, you're not happy being single, then that's duplicity and it's contradiction, right? So, talking about duty and responsibility, this is day 2 of the 31-day live stream challenge. I have not worked out what day that takes us up to. Let me see if I can work it out on live. That will be from yesterday, 7, can I count? 14, 21, 28, 29, 30, 31, 10th of October, 10, 10. They're great numbers. On the 10th of October, that will be our last day. So I'm going to be live streaming every day around this time, which is about 2 p.m. UK time. It might give or take be a little earlier or later, no later than an hour either side, but I will be going live every day around this time for the next 29 days now till the 10th of October. I hope you'll join me. We'll be talking about love, relationships. I'll be analyzing some series as well as we do on the channel, so it won't always be like this. Sometimes we'll be looking at it through the lens of a Netflix show or a Disney Plus show. We've got coming up Bridgerton, Stranger Things, Arcane, which is anime. I have a list somewhere and I can't remember the other ones. I'm also going to be analyzing Miracle by Darren Brown. I always forget how to say his name. Miracle, also a show he did called The Push, and Sacrifice. So I'm going to be analysing some Darren Brown shows as well that I watched on Netflix that I thought were very interesting from the perspective of psychology and beliefs and how we can be conditioned. He does a lot of NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, and I suspect he has mastered dark psychology as well, which is not my thing. But he has some really powerful things to say, and I would love to analyse those shows and help decode it to give you a little bit of information you can apply to your life. You are beautiful. Thank you for being here. I'm so grateful. Before I go, I'm going to say hello to you all. Just call me Jimmy. Thank you, Jimmy. You're a sweetheart. I think that just take and embrace the anger slowly for who I love and attracting for is okay. So when it comes to anger, my take on anger, and we have in a course I have called Break the Cycle, there's a section called Lifting the Lid on Anger, and it describes how to release it. I believe anger is a physical release. It's running, it's HIIT training, it's kickboxing, it's boxing circuits, it's weights, it's punching a pillow, it's putting on rock music and jumping up and down. Like, anger is a really, really volatile energy, and it needs to be released from the body in a way that's really physical. I don't believe that we can meditate anger away. I'm sure the Buddhists would have something to say about that. I went to a Buddhist temple recently. It was beautiful, actually. It was a really powerful experience. But in terms of anger, I think sometimes people talk about anger like it's something we can pray away or meditate away, but I believe we have to release it from the body. That's been powerful for me, and that's what I teach my clients. But of course, we all have to do what feels right for us. If you have any requests, please let me know. I'd be happy to answer your questions. If you have any shows you want me to analyze, I've got Netflix as a subscription at the moment. I'd be happy to analyze any Netflix shows, any shows or films that have a romantic relationship that you think needs to be looked at, then let me know and I will feature it on the channel and give you a shout out with your first name as well. Thank you for being here. If you want more from me, you can find me on YouTube and TikTok. You're here on YouTube, so you know what to do. Subscribe, ring the bell, all that good stuff. You can search me on TikTok. I'm Cheryl Muir, and my website is cherylmuir.com, and the details of my courses are down below. Oh, we do have a sale in September as well. So if you want to join us, then there is a sale on 2 of the courses on Infinite Love and Break the Cycle. You can get 10% off throughout September. Thank you for being here. I love you a whole lot. Have a beautiful day. Bye for now.